The observation deck of Station That-07 hummed with the distant thrum of failing life support systems. Jenny pressed her palm against the cold viewport, watching the debris field of what used to be Earth's third colonial fleet drift past in eternal silence. 3 months had passed since the Zenith Armada had torn through humanity's outer defenses, and 3 months since she'd discovered she was carrying a child, another one abandoned, she whispered to her reflection, her hand instinctively moving to her barely visible stomach. The station's skeleton crew had evacuated 2 weeks ago, heading for the inner colonies, but pregnant civilians weren't permitted on military transports. Resources were scarce, they'd said. Priorities had to be made. The sound of heavy boots on metal grating made her turn sharply. Her hand went to the plasma cutter at her belt station. Maintenance tools were the only weapons left to scavengers like her. A tall figure emerged from the shadows of the corridor, wearing the tattered remnants of a combat exosuit. The armor was scorched black in places, and one shoulder plate was missing entirely, but the insignia on his chest was unmistakable, the crossed swords and shield of the Vanguard Division, humanity's most elite fighting force. "Don't move," Jenny said, raising the plasma cutter with shaking hands. "I don't have anything worth taking." The man raised his hands slowly, his weathered face emerging into the dim emergency lighting. He couldn't have been more than 30. But his dark eyes carried the weight of someone who'd seen 1,000 lifetimes of war. A nasty scar ran from his left temple to his jaw. "Easy," he said, his voice rough but gentle. "I'm not here to take anything. Name's Christ, Vanguard 2nd Battalion, or what's left of it. You're alone." Jenny lowered the cutter slightly but didn't holster it. "Last one standing," Cristiano replied, a bitter smile crossing his features. "My unit held the line at the Kepler Ridge. We bought the civilian transports enough time to escape, but he trailed off, looking at the debris field outside. I've been station hopping for weeks, looking for any survivors." Jenny studied him carefully. The Vanguard were legend super soldiers enhanced with genetic modifications and cybernetic implants, trained from childhood to be humanity's shield. But this man looked hollow, like something vital had been carved out of him. "Well, you found one," she said finally, lowering the plasma cutter completely. Jenny Reeves, former hydroponics engineer on the colony ship Horizon. Former being the operative word. Cristiano's eyes drifted to the supply crates stacked against the wall, then to the makeshift sleeping area Jenny had constructed. His gaze lingered on the medical supplies, and she saw the moment of recognition in his expression. "You're pregnant," he stated, not a question. Jenny's jaw tightened. "That's none of your concern, soldier. How far along?" 14 weeks, and before you ask, no, the father isn't here. He was on the Horizon when it was destroyed. I was planetside for a supply run." Her voice cracked slightly. "Lucky me." Cristiano was silent for a long moment, his eyes fixed on something beyond the viewport. When he finally spoke, his voice was different, softer, almost reverent. "In my battalion we had a saying, no one fights alone. We were brothers and sisters, bonded by blood and battle. When one of us fell, the others carried on. When one of us was lost, we brought them home." He turned to face her fully. "I have no battalion anymore, no family, no home, but I'm still breathing, and I still remember what it means to protect." "What are you saying?" Jenny asked, confusion and something else, hope, perhaps flickering in her chest. Cristiano stepped forward, then knelt on one knee before her. The gesture was ancient, ceremonial, completely out of place in the ruins of their dying station, but the earnestness in his eyes was undeniable. "I'm saying that no child should come into this universe without protection. No mother should face this war alone. I'm saying that I may have failed my battalion, failed Earth, failed at everything I was created to do, but I don't have to fail you." He reached up and removed the military identification tags from around his neck, holding them out to her. "These are worth something in the inner colonies. Military dependents get priority transport, housing, rations. If you were my wife, if this child were legally mine." He paused. "I can't give you love, Jenny. I don't know if I'm even capable of that anymore. But I can give you protection. I can give this child a future." Jenny stared at him, her mind racing. This was insane. They were strangers. He was a weapons-grade human being, designed for destruction. She was just an engineer who grew tomatoes and lettuce for colonists who no longer existed. But as she looked into his eyes, she saw something that transcended logic and reason. She saw a man who had lost everything reaching out to someone else who had lost everything. She saw a soldier without a war trying to find meaning in the ashes of civilization. She saw, perhaps, the last genuine act of humanity in a universe that had forgotten what humanity meant. "That's it," she whispered. "You'd just take us on. A stranger and a child that isn't yours." Cristiano's expression softened. I've fought beside soldiers I'd known for 10 minutes and would have died for them without hesitation. Time doesn't create loyalty, Jenny. Choice does. And I'm choosing this. I'm choosing you. I'm choosing that child. Jenny felt tears streaming down her face. She wiped them away roughly, trying to maintain some composure. But the walls she'd built around herself for 3 months, the walls that had kept her moving, kept her surviving, crumbled in an instant. Okay, she breathed. Okay, from today I'm your wife. Cristiano stood, and for the first time since entering the observation deck, he smiled. It was a small, broken thing, but it was real. Then from today, he said, you're not alone anymore. Outside the viewport, the stars burned cold and distant. The war raged on across 1,000 systems. Humanity's future hung by a thread. But on Station Theta 7, in the darkness between dying worlds, 2 souls found each other and dared to hope that maybe, just maybe, that thread would hold.